Okay, I think we are perfectly on time to start. I hope you enjoy the coffee outside and you are like fresh mind for this session. Today we have a session about educational and economic networks. So we have 4 presentations and apparently we will have only 3 because the other person I think is not showing up online. So we will start with this presentation of Santiago Picasso. He is from the University of the Republic in Uruguay. And he will present a structural change. How are the relationships of the services with other sectors? I will take the time. You have, since we have one presenter less, you have like 20 minutes approximately. So keep it slowly and I will mark the time and let you know.
Well, thank you. First of all, my English is not so good, but I like to present in English because of some colleagues speak in English. So I'm glad to be here. The last year I presented by Zoom, but now I'm here in Santiago. It's my first time, so I'm glad to visit the city. Well, the paper is called Structural Change. How are the relationship of the services with other sectors? It's one of my papers of my PhD project. So if you have any comments, any doubts, I'm glad to receive feedback. First of all, in economy or in general, as you know, the boom of services sector is increasingly important. Yes, in general, it's something like 60% of the value add in middle income and rich economies. But little is known about sectoral difference between rich and poor countries. One reason is the available of data. And this is more critical for the study of service sector. Yes. So the objectives are, first of all, answer the question, are services substitute or complement to other sectors? Is this specific to the income level of the countries? And the other objective is measure the complementarity between all trade relations in the intermediate consumption matrix from a complexity approach. Yes? So complementarity is defined as the degree to which one activity is essential for the production of another activity and vice versa. Yes. So the hypothesis here we have the different hypotheses that I'm going to test and is I try to see if there is complementarity relations between service and the other sectors. Yes. The data I use a novel data that I have several information related with service sector. Here I have the intermediate consumption matrix. That is a graph. Yes, graph for each country of the data, because I have 141 countries. Yes. So here I have a matrix. I have a graph. So I can use econometric models to test the hypothesis that I proposed before. Yes, here I have 2 kinds of econometric models. First of all, I have a ERGM model, a general ERGM model, to capture this structure of the network. But the ERGM model have several problems. Yes, the model is very computationally expensive, and that is more strong if I have many nodes in the network. Yes, here I have 65 sectors for each country, so I have 65 sectors. So In general, for more than 50 nodes, I have problem to do the estimate of the model because because the minimization of the maximization of the likelihood of the probability to estimate the network. So I propose here another type of regression that is called the additive regression. I don't know if something of you know about trade, international trade, but in international trade use gravity models, and that gravity models are something like is the same idea of a network, but with another type of model. Yes, so we have two types of model. The ERGM model generalization is a novel idea in 2012. Kramer et al. Proposed this idea. We have a ERGM model reformulated by moving from discrete to continuous space. Yes. So if you know about the ERGM model, here you notice that I don't have to use the dichotomous values. Yes, in ERGM model you have to put each cells have the value 0 or 1, but the generalization you have any values between 0 and 1. Yes, so this is my methodology to test the hypothesis of complementarity or substitutability between sectors, and then the other, well, here is the model. Y is the weight adjustment matrix. In this case, I used the matrix that I showed before. That is intermediate consumption matrix. I don't know if I mentioned in a good way, but this matrix, I think that I was very quickly, refers all the transactions between activities, yes, between sectors. That is my information, yes. J refers to purchases from activity J to activity I in a country C, and I refer the sales of activity I to activity J in country C, yes, here. So I have a square matrix that I use here to model the ERGM model, yes. The betas, the parameters that estimate the right network in the ERGM model is this beta is a parameter for connections between node types. Yes, we have two types of nodes, and this beta measures the relationship between. So the beta measure the connection, the relationship between two sectors, two nodes. Yes. Well, remember in a ERGM model we have this kappa, that is the normalizing constant. That is in part is the problem because of the cost of the computationality cost. Yes. So in my case, I propose this ERGM model. I have three sectors: services, agriculture, and manufacturing. Yes. So I use this node mix in the package of our software. We have the general ERGM model, and we have the node mix. That is I say to the package, give me all the interactions between sectors. Yes. So I have betas, different betas for different interaction. Yes. So beta X other positive, meaning that there is complementarity between sector X and other. The same with other and X. Remember that my hypothesis is try to verify that if I have complementarity between service sectors and agriculture, on service sectors and manufacture and so on, So if I have a positive beta, I have complementarity between sectors. Yes. Then the other side of methodology, I said, general ERGM model is a good option to measure complementarity because I take in account all the heterogeneity of the matrix I take in account the clusters in the economy. I said that is the right tool to measure the beta to test my hypothesis, but I propose the diary regression because one of my goals is to test if there are differences between type of countries. Yes, rich countries, middle income countries, and poor countries. I would like to see if I have different results between type of country. And to put all that information in a ERGM model, for me, was impossible to achieve a conversions of the model. So I would like to receive comments about that, about the if the problem is my computer, if the problem is my specification, or if the problem is that we haven't, for the moment, we have no computer that allows us to make that estimation. But I think that I solved with this methodology. The idea is the same, but here I said, well, we have services, agriculture and manufacture, but in practice, we have many sectors. So here, I see all the interactions between sectors. We have 65 sectors, so we have 65 per 65 interactions, something more than 4,000 interactions. So I estimate 4,000 beta to see all the complementarities or substitutability between sectors in an economy. Yes, so the results are, first, sectors are substitute or complements. Here, using the generalization of ERGM, in general, I see that only manufacturers and the interaction between manufacturers with the same sector are complements. Then in agriculture and in the rest of interaction between manufacturer and other sectors, there are substitutability. But in services, the services in mean are complementarity with the other sectors. Yes, these are the data that I showed in here in this specification. But then I go to the dyadic model. Yes, here I have this. These are all the betas ordered. I ordered all the betas for poor countries, middle income countries, and rich countries. So I achieved the measure between all the sectors in the economy. The ERGM model, I can't do that with the ERGM model, but with this model, it's like a OLS, but each observation, the Y of a OLS model is the cells of the matrix. I don't know if I'm being clear, but it's that idea. It's a OLS taking into account that the observation is not the sector, but the cells of the matrix, the interaction between two sectors. So here I can see that betas in poor country are always positives. Here I'm seeing the effect of an increase in manufacturers in purchase of service by type of country. Then I have a duality. Remember, the other model that I only have service, agriculture, and manufacture, only I see positive or negative, but the word is more complex. So here I have all the interaction between sectors. So I can see that there are substitutability, a negative effect, and complementarity between sectors in middle and rich countries. Yes. The same, I do that the same with other sectors. Agriculture, the relationship of agriculture sector with services, I can see the same. Poor countries are always complementarity between sectors, between agriculture and service sector. But in middle income countries and rich countries, there are some sectors complementarity and some sectors that have substitutability. Yes. So here I have a duality effect, but stronger effects of substitute and middle income countries in magnitude. Yes, you can see minus 400, and here is minus 200, 300, and number of sectors. Yes, I have many beta, significant betas in the middle income countries. The same behavior is related with services, with the own sector. Yes, complementarity always in poor countries, duality effects in middle income countries and rich countries, but stronger effects of substitute in middle income countries and stronger effects of complementarity in rich countries respect to a middle income country. Yes, so I have my motivation is to see the relationship between services and the other sectors. I propose my goal that is measure this relationship. My hypothesis to test are complementarity or substitutability between sectors, and I try the best methodology, but have several problems. That is a general ERGM model, and then I propose like a gravity model or dyadic model, OLS, to test a better or to take in account all the information that are 141 countries, characteristic of countries, and all the interactions that that is impossible with the general ERGM model. So the conclusion, well, this is a preliminary work, so I have many things to do in the future. The marginal effect of each country's internal trade flow is captured. Yes, there is complementarity effect of services with other sectors in that aggregate model, ERGM model. However, when looking at the effect between each pair of interaction, there is a high degree of heterogeneity between each pair of links. The result confirms a mixed effect by country. In fact, in middle and rich country, the poor countries, as I said, always show complementarity with services. Yes, and however, rich and middle income countries have complementarity and a substitute sector. Remember that we have a negative and positive effect. And here, this is like a conclusion that I think that is important. Probably I would like to have this paper. I in the future I could focus in the economy result, but I think that the general ERGM model is a good thing to analyze that model and to use these results like a case of study. You know, I don't know how if I'm going to send my paper to a social network journal or economic journal, but I'm in doubt because this conclusion I think that is important. The general ERGM model better captures endogeneity in sectoral relationship that we know from the ERGM model, but has technical shortcomings in terms of estimating effects. What I said before. Therefore, for the time being, the dyadic model is chosen to measure the effects. Yes, because I can deal with a huge more quantity of information than the general ERGM model. So here is my presentation.
Your presentations, are there questions? Yes.
Well, thank you, Santiago, for the presentation. And welcome to Chile. I think it was really nice and really enjoyed what we presented. I have some more, more like to have some discussion here. Well, you're using generalized ergoms, but there are some other options, right? So you have MONA, for example, which is a quite recent model, which is done by Block in Zurich.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's one option that, I don't know, it could be part of your tool or, something that you might want to look at it. And I'm not sure whether Pavel has something related with weighted ergon. So those were the two models that I thought when you were talking about generalized ergons. Now I have a more like a, so okay, when you have these matrices, you have there's weighted cells in which you know how much is transferred from one country to the other country. Right? One of the things that catch my attention is that you might have countries that are huge. So let's say Uruguay might not be that big in comparison with China, and this might bias somehow how you make an interpretation of the parameters, right? Because they, or maybe you're controlling this. This is kind of how I'm thinking about, but it is just some countries are just so huge that even if you start analyzing the effect that explains the transmission or whatever is transferred here, this might be a factor to take into account. Now, related with your model, so why you were deciding whether to use dyadic regression or generalized ergons, I thought, yeah, but okay, we do know that the effects on ERGMs are difficult to make an interpretation just straight away, but they do have this that they are controlling for these microprocesses. So the microprocesses is what ergon is about. So you use ergons because you want to explain things like triadic things or things like that. And I was wondering whether these dyadic regression are capable of doing that. And even if they can't, which there's another, it opens a Pandora box because it's opening all these interdependencies and problems that are behind estimation. So I'm just adding you more problems perhaps in my question, but this is kind of the thing that I was thinking while I was listening to you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if, no, I think, well, I correct, I think that I correct the problem, for example, of Uruguay or in China, because I control for characteristics of each country. But it's true that maybe here I have like big data. Probably I have to use maybe a few countries because here I have 145 countries. Maybe I could choose a few countries. I forgot to say that this estimation is only for USA, because now this estimation, for example, take I group different specification. Some specification take 1 week or I don't know 4 days, 5 days, and never converge. So I reduce the information and I keep one country and I keep only these betas, these I don't know how to say parameters, but I couldn't include more controls. Yes, please.
So hang on, now that you have that in there, what's the difference between edges and integers? Like, isn't it's not edges supposed to be the intercept? Because
I don't remember, I'm not sure, but no, I understand that the intercept is the link. So, no, yes, I don't remember.
No, because I think just thinking of why you might want to achieve optimization of your model, it might be an issue of specification. So that could be one option. Or it's just ergonomics, I'm just thinking too. And then this other alternative that I, told you at the beginning might have better solution.
Yes.
Could use permutation tests as well, because dealing with it's the autocorrelation effect that worries me on your dyadic model. So obviously ergons, that's what they do, they get rid of that precisely by controlling for all those little processes. But another way, which is a more standard regression way, is to use permutation tests, which also will help you control for those.
Can you repeat? Sorry.
Permutation tests.
And
And I was wondering if that would just help you control for those autocorrelation effects. But in essence, if I'm right, the number of variables you've actually got here is 145 by 145 times 65 times 65. Because it's 145 countries against 145 countries, it's 65 sectors against 65 sectors because you're within each sector. So that's a lot. No ergon's ever going to get anywhere near doing that. They're getting better, but they're not that good in terms of convergence.
That's also the question that I have, because the interaction between the services is also, or the companies is also between the countries. It's like you have companies in one country and then interacting with companies in another country, or just inside the country?
No, our trade inside the country.
Okay, perfect.
These are transactions.
Reduced it by a factor of 145.
Because you can also use like different kind of matrices and then compare between countries, because you want to.
Yes.
And also, do you have some kind of normalization on the matrix? Like, for example, so the maximum can be 1.
Yes. Here in this model, I have to normal. In this result, I have to normalize the matrix, because you need that the values be between 0 and 1. So here I choose the maximum value of the matrix. Here and I use each of this number divide by the maximum value of the matrix.
Okay, so you are So you compare just the inside.
And also I have to use logarithm, because without logarithm the model doesn't convert. Many problems.
You can use I think that a way to approximate to the problem is more like make the model for just one country each, and then compare like the different.
Yes. Maybe I can choose
1 or 2, I don't know.
Yes, for example, I don't know, Uruguay, no sé, Chile, I don't know, Mercosur with European Union. I have to change the hypothesis, the question, but it's a good idea just to compare.
Like twisted kind of.
Like a case of study between few countries.
Okay, thank you, Santiago, for your presentations. We're gonna move to our second presenter. So Ignacio Schiappacasse, he has an interesting presentation about analysis of the Chilean jet set, 2018 to 2024.
Can you see the names? No. Good morning, thank you for being here. Thank you, Daniela, for being the moderator. Thank you to the organizers. So this is very much work in progress. So this is I want to stress that this is really a teamwork. So you can see that we are about 6-7 members of the team. So I am leading this because I have the money, basically. Because I got a grant. And usually I work with qualitative methods. So I always wanted to test the advantages of social network analysis. So I'm working with Naim, which is a very much well-known Chilean specialist in the topic. And here with us is also Matías, who is a PhD student here in this university in Católica, and he's the brain basically behind the analysis. So we think that a potential contribution of this work in itself is the way in which we got the information and the way in which we process the information. So that, of course, that will be part of your assessment. So we are, I mean, we welcome any idea, criticism about this work. So I will discuss with you a general context, let's say, and a specific context. So in general, I mean, I think as has been the case internationally, there is a trend in Chile regarding the analysis, the study of the elites. Okay, so this started maybe 15 years ago in Chile, 20 years ago. But most of the works has the main limitation that are conducted following just a qualitative approach. And in that kind of work, I include myself. So, for example, we analyze the policymaking process, we try to get the most influential actors in those processes, but we lack a knowledge, a more precise knowledge of I would say the structural underpinnings of these elites and the relationships between this type of elite, between the economic elite, the political elite, and the cultural elite. In the case of Chile, we have some classics, some traditional works who have studied let's say the corporate network, but these are works for the 70s, 60s. So we need something more updated. So this is one of our large these questions, or this is one of our obsessions. Let's say we're obsessed with trying to understand the relationship between the corporate elite in Chile and other type of elites. So then we have a specific context, which is my fundicid, okay? And we are somehow determined by this fundicid. So we have resources for trying to understand the policy network in which the Central Bank of Chile is operating. So there is a general lack of analysis regarding the power dynamics in which our central bank is embedded. So that's one main motivation for doing this research. So our aim is to examine over time the potential influence of this network in the policy process or in the decision-making process of the bank. So this somehow is related because as I will show you, we reconstruct the JetSat network from 2018 to 2024. And this is part of the project because we are building a huge database with the interlocking directorships of the main Chilean companies, and we will trace this individual with their kinship ties, with their educational background, and so on and so forth. So then we have to match this database with the one that we are building from archives and other documents. So yeah, so this works. It's kind of it's like a new set of ideas which we are building up from this main project. So we are basically following Larsen et al. in this particular work because they they studied the Danish corporate network, and they apply a very nice, very sophisticated way in which, I mean, by which they want to capture the symbolic resource of this elite. So they build a database including the participation in royal events in Denmark. So we thought, well, what's the most similar kind of events in Chile? And of course, we have El Mercurio here in Chile, which is the conservative daily newspaper, and they almost daily inform us about the main events of the Chilean elite. And these are published in el cuerpo A del Mercurio, the A, let's say the first body of the newspaper, and these events are entitled Society Pages, o eventos sociales, o las páginas sociales del Mercurio. And the newspaper is still the most influential newspaper in Chile, and is the key driver of the public agenda. I mean, El Mercurio sets still today the political agenda in our country. So, Matías, with the help of, I want to talk also about Alberto Anrique. This guy is our student. He just finished his degree. He's now a political scientist. Matías, with the help of Alberto, they developed this method. So we scrapped information from El Mercurio from 2018 to 2024. So we got a raw data in the form of JSON files. We performed a first cleaning of this data, for example, eliminating the written accents. So here we have all the whole Mercurio. Okay, nowadays the Mercurio has maybe 40, 60 pages. So from that data, we selected just las páginas sociales, the society pages. And then Matías used ChatGPT to clean the data and identify the names of the people showing up in these events. And then we perform the analysis. Basically, that's the process. We have like, how many observations? 12,000? Yeah. And from that, we built this network of around 600 people.
Sorry, what's the unit of observation of these database?
Say again?
The unit of analysis, or
The individuals.
the individual?
The individuals participating in these events that are covered by El Mercurio.
Great. Yeah, got
For
it.
example, la cena anual de la Sofofa, the annual dinner of Sofofa, for example, which is one of the main business associations in Chile.
Nice. Thank you.
Or the party of somebody important in the country. So this is our complete network. So this is the main network. This captures, I think, international individuals, and there is some connection between the international network. So El Mercurio, in the eventos sociales, society pages, they show national events and international events. So there is some kind of connection between these two, because, for example, there is somebody which is friend of King Charles or Donald Trump. So we focus our analysis in this main network. Okay. This is the main central network, and here in red, I mean, this was one of our hypotheses. We thought that some guys from the central bank were to be part of this network, and we found just 3 names. mean, which is too little, I think. I thought that we were going to find more names. So this is Pablo Piñera. We had a database with more than 200 names of central bankers in Chile from 1990 to 2024. And Pablo Piñera was board member of the central bank in the 90s. Of course, he's more influential, let's say, because he's the brother of the former Chilean president, Sebastián Piñera. But I mean, he's not that important central bank. This guy is important, Mario Marcel, who is the current finance minister. He was president of the central bank, so it makes a lot of sense that he's in the core of this network. Francisco Ruiz, okay, he's a central banker, but he is just he wasn't member of the board, for example. So well, we have to continue working with this. So I hope to find more central bankers in this network because most of these guys work for the central bank, and then after that they go to, for example, to work with companies of the financial market, or previous to their work in central bank, they work to, for example, some AFPs or some banks, and then they go to the bank. So I can see them because I read the El Mercurio every day. I can see them participating in some of these events, but we have to think more about this. And this is in this network, in this graph, in this figure, we show you the degree centrality. Sorry, I thought you know. Oh, well, I can see some names. For example, here is Sebastián Piñera, I think. Yes. So this is our former president. This is Hernán Felipe Errázuriz, who was a minister of the dictatorship, so he's still very much influential. This is Ignacio Herrero, a businessman very close to Sebastián Piñera. They are friends. So these are part of the economic elite. This guy is part of the, let's say, political elite. Now the next steps of this work, we have to add some attributes to these names, apart from being member or not of the central bank. Yeah, you saw Ignacio Sanchez, our president of this university here. So this guy is, let's say, member of the cultural elite. Okay. Yeah. So these are the most popular people in our network. Then, well, this is the list. Here you can see, for example, Elin Matei, Jaime Velorio, Anders Chadwick, member of the political elite, with members of the economic elite and so on. Then we have agent centrality, and this is tricky because you can see that it moves a bit. It's not exactly the same, of course, regarding in comparison to the degree centrality, but the tricky thing is that there are many people here from Universidad del Bello. So now, in the last year, they have been paying to El Mercurio to appear in these pages. So this is tricky. So we think that maybe we should reconstruct the network further into the past to have a more larger picture and to capture longer term trends, because it's somehow, let's see, this is noise in our work. For example, Juan Antonio Zuan is one of the owners of that university. Nicolas Bromfam is one academic from that university. This guy is also part of the Universidad del Bello. You know, Jaime Fillol, he's a famous tenista. How do you say tenista in English? Tennis player, and he's the director of one of the school of Universidad del Bello. So this is part news for us. And then we have between us, and this is interesting. These guys are somehow control the flow of information and resources. And here you have a nice collection of names. This is the top percent let's say these guys are the bridges in our network, and here you can see, for example, Andres Chalik, very influential, former Minister of Home Affairs. Claudio Lortegui is a president of one regional university in Chile, member of the cultural elite, we can say. Again, Hernán Felipe Rasuris, Christian Segers, this guy was director of the El Mercurio. Mary Rose McGill, one of the most famous member of the Chilean jet set. She's like a paradigm of the Chilean, member of the Chilean, the paradigm of being member of the Chilean jet set. She was very influential. Then you have people like Juan Antonio Coloma, member of the Senate. So these are the people in theory somehow controlling or influencing the flow of information and resources. And of course, you have here also Sebastián Piñera with the here. So I have, we don't have conclusion at this point. We have more things about future work. So we have to match this network with the database that we are building the project. We have to think seriously about the role played by the Universidad in Andrés Bello. Of course, we have to include more attributes to the individuals. We are working on this type of elite ties between them, educational background, and we will apply this same approach to newspapers, Diario Financiero and La Tercera. So I think maybe this could be good to deal with this issue. Thank you for your attention.
See one further question for Ignacio. Yes,
Thank you, Ignacio, for the presentation. And I have some theoretical questions and more methodological questions. So regarding the theoretical question, there's a whole discussion between elite. So I think, in here it seems to me that is quite, I don't want to say narrow, but perhaps we want to kind of expand on the type of elite that you are looking at this newspaper. So in the newspaper you are seeing some names, but perhaps they are representing very different things. So you already mentioned this guy is a cultural elite.
Yeah.
That would be a great way of going through. Now, did you know Erika Salva?
Yes.
Because
I know her. Yeah.
She's working on this type of research also from Chile. On that building, you're trying to match this type of information as well. So it might be good to.
The issue with her work is she's just working. She's just working with the members of boards.
Yeah. So Yeah, and now my methodological is so if I understand correctly, you were saying, okay, there's an event, and in this event there are some people that are there. Saying, okay, there was a gathering with Spopa.
Yeah.
Now the problem with that is that you really have like a two-mode network, which is basically you have an entity which is aggregating all the nodes in there. And that might actually, we have Martin here, so he's really the expert on this topic. But I think this might be, it could influence quite heavily this centrality measure. Because if I understood correctly, you are projecting the data. So by projecting the data, this data is actually weighted. Then you have to take care of the weight of the projection in order to say something about centrality. So it's just a matter of being careful. It is nice now that it's an exploration phase, but you might have consequences later on. That this is something that you might want.
So you are saying that we should include as an attribute the organizer, let's say, of each event.
It could be an option, or maybe use more sophisticated centrality alternatives that can actually control all the things, or maybe just maintain the structure of the two-mode network. I think there are plenty of options, but at least the traditional centrality might be a bit. They might have some problems.
Thank you very much.
You want to say something?
Yes.
One second, please. Maybe take some notes.
I think I think in some future questions I put it because this is descriptive, but probably you have do you have the information about if you have Sebastián Piñera, but you have other politicians, for example?
Yeah.
Because maybe a future research is the lobby capacity. I don't know if you have a strong interaction between a politician, maybe you have more lobby capacity and you can see some law
Yeah.
in the year.
Yeah, sure.
Something like that. I don't know. It's a great paper and you have many information to.
Something related to that. I mean, we hope to find, for example, here. Yeah, some people from the Concertación. Well, here, you know, Ignacio Walker, he's a Christian Democrat, you know. But they are not, I mean, I mean, as I understand this, they could control somehow the flow of information and resources, but they don't have a central position in the.
But maybe it's,
For example,
the relevant is not the central position, but a cluster or something like
Yeah.
that. I don't know. Bring, yes. No.
Yes.
Okay, so I had some questions regarding different parts of the presentation. First, I wanted to know about the scrapping process. Was it done from the printed version or the web version of this section?
the web version.
Oh, okay.
The print web version.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we pay the description,
Mm.
and we download, we grab the printed version, which is
It's a
uploaded.
no,
Yeah, does it come in like PDF files or what type of files is it?
it's in JSON file. We download the text in cluster in the web page.
All right. I also wanted to ask about the
So sorry, we started in 2018 because we couldn't go further into the bus.
yes.
So now we have we have a way in which we could start maybe in 2010.
Mhm.
But
Okay,
we have
okay.
to download the page
Um,
and I mean and transport the image in words, in text.
I was also wondering that because I have a colleague that's also working with Mercurio data, but she's not scrapping anything. She doesn't know how to scrap, but I just find it very interesting. I wanted to ask also like, how do you well, it's more like, I hate to say this, but how are you going to work on the defining attributes for things like affiliation with universities? Because in some cases, people are connected not just to one university, but many. How, I don't know if you have already decided like a protocol to decide the attribute of each of these nodes. Also to know, because I think every one of us might have similar challenges in that topic. And also about the visualization, I was wondering like what software did you use? Because it looks familiar, but I want to know.
Sorry, I didn't get the last question.
What software did you use for the visualization?
so
¿Qué programa usaste para visualizar las redes?
Our studio,
Ah,
Digiplower, Digigraph, I don't know, iGraph.
and, okay.
should I know the
Mhm.
Let me
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
the attributes. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's a big issue. I mean, of course, some of us have two affiliations, but I mean, that's not very common in this type of
Alright.
events. And the problem with Unisanders Bay is, I mean, it's real because I mean they are paying for appearing these pages, so
So it appears like in the news when you find something related to them, does it have like a tag saying that it's a paid collaboration? Or how do you know that exists? I'm sorry, it's just that from a media perspective, I
Yeah.
also like to go over this.
Because they have some paid
Uh-huh.
pages in Mercurio. Paid pages, I mean, they say this a special,
Advertisement?
Advertisements, okay.
so the Mercurio shows
All right.
some events
Mhm.
that you can tell that they paid for appearing on Mercurio, but they also cover some events that are not paid.
Okay.
But of course, I mean, there is a privileged treatment of Unicentres Bello by El Mercurio.
Yeah, because I'm also
In
thinking.
the last years of this newspaper.
Yeah, since I'm thinking that if there's a case of like, I think it's an ethical fault if you do a paid collaboration and you do not state that somewhere in the news, in the article.
That's their problems.
Yeah.
I mean, and we
this
know
is
that
the scope of
this happens a lot. I mean, if you read El Mercurio on Sundays, of course, there are some people writing in Mercurio which are not that brilliant, and you can understand that their institution is paying El Mercurio for these guys to write in its pages.
Yeah.
But that's tricky. But
Yeah, I mean, I understand that Joss was asking because if, for example, you presented this type of information at an event with journalists, they would ask you very much like about how do you make that assumption. Be very careful with that because people can get like very defensive of media.
but
and I was also-
as a reader of El Mercurio, I can tell that that's pretty new.
Okay.
And in the past, El Mercurio, for example, now El Mercurio has maybe one or two eventos sociales.
Okay.
But in the past, you could find maybe 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah.
So I think it's much nicer from our point of view.
Because another way to make a correlation would be to actually quantify the amount of ads that each university or institution have in each number.
Yeah.
Relate that with the article that you're interested in, and that's how you can tell like this is a possible source of income for this number in particular. And that's how you can make the match without actually assuming that the money from advertising goes directly to cover that.
Thank you for that.
I'm sorry for giving you more work.
You final comment, you have a question? That's the last question?
Yes, but I question them later because it's very technical. I don't know. Well, the chat should be how do you use
With the API?
you have to use the API
Yeah, with the API.
from our software. Or-
Yeah, from our software or Python software. Anywhere. Okay.
Thank you, Ignacio, for your presentation. Presentation, one will be myself. I will move to a more psychological and educational topic, educational psychology. I will talk about what was the last paper of my PhD. I studied network design on prosocial contagion in adolescents. So the topic was, do adolescents adopt the prosocial behavior of the classmates they like? It was a social network analysis on prosocial contagion. And just a quick definition about peer influence processes in adolescence, that these occur when individuals act or thinks in ways that he or she might not otherwise act or think. So an effect that can be attributed to experiences with friends or affiliates. Usually it is well known about peer influence process that can foster group stability and facilitate also the formation of close friendships. And also, peer influence processes have been studied on friendships, but yeah, as close friends are influenced, well-liked peers and popular peers can be also important sources of influence. Peer influence has been already studied for different behavioral domains. So we have for bullying and victimizations, also for academic performance and educational expectations, musical preferences, physical activities, and so on. But not everyone is equally influential. Not all the peers are equally influential. So I'm highlighting in this research the status of certain peers. So they have a high status. Peer status by definition is the social position of an individual within the peer group. And we have to recognize two different status. So one is more reputational status. Usually we call it popularity associated with aggressive behavior. So we ask adolescents to nominate who is the most popular in the class. And also we have another more affective reputation, which is usually known in the literature as peer acceptance or likability, and is usually associated with prosocial behaviors and less aggressive behavior. What we know so far is that both popular and liked adolescents appear to be highly attractive for peer affiliations. But we know mostly about popularity and not much on likability. So the gaps in the literatures are peer influence and behavioral change have been mostly studied within friendship networks for social behaviors. And even those studies using network friendships have found no effects for prosocial behavior, so no effects of influential processes on friends. And regarding peer status and influence has been mostly focused on popularity due to this strong association between popularity and aggression, or also risk and maladaptive behaviors. But the high status of like peers have been mostly omitted. So these are the research questions. Do adolescents adopt the prosocial behaviors of the classmates they like? Are highly liked peers more influential than less liked peers? And are lowly liked peers more susceptible to be influenced in prosocial behavior? So my participants had a mid-age of 12 years old when they were in 7th grade. This is a Chilean sample. And they were like mostly 13 years old when they were in the 8th grade. We have a transition here. And we took 7 classrooms across 3 waves, longitudinal data collected by the Prosocial project in Chile. So we have only the control schools. We didn't take the intervention classrooms. And we measure peer prosocial behavior with peer rating. So we ask students to rate every single classmate. In these 4 items related to comforting, sharing, helping, and understanding their point of view. So we created an average score for that. The likability network, we measure it with an approximation. Usually international literature measure it with who do you like the most, but in Chile that has like a more romantic connotation. So we ask students with whom would you like to hang out at the school during the recess? And we have nominations, 0 for no nominations, 1 when they nominated a peer that they like. They could nominate up to 3 classmates within the classroom. So the analysis plan consider Bayesian estimation method using the social network analysis. We control for selection effects. And we tested the influence effects to examine to what extent the influence of those peers who were nominated as liked had an influence on prosocial behavior. So we tested for influence effects, these average alter effects. So this measured the tendency of adolescents to behave toward the values of their liked peers' behavior. And for the other 2 questions, we tested moderating effects with the in-degree popularity and the susceptibility, which is the last question, with the average alter interaction with the in-degree scores. So the main questions related to if adolescents adopted the prosocial behavior of the classmates they like, we found a significant effect. So the answer is yes. Peer influence on prosocial behavior took place in adolescents' liking networks. which move in two directions. So these would move upward and downward. We also found a significant effect for the influence on higher prosocial behavior, which was particularly driven by the highly liked peers. We also tested this like with a sensitivity analysis, testing that the highly liked peers were indeed more prosocial than the rest. So with this interaction, we tested that question. And we also found that adolescents who are low in likability were more susceptible than highly liked ones to the influence of the peers that they liked. So for the discussion, we found evidence for prosocial influence on a network that hasn't been studied before. And adolescents tended to adopt the behavior, the prosocial behavior, based on the liking nominations of the peers that they like. And these were particularly true when these peers were liked by many other peers in the classrooms. And lowly liked youth were also more susceptible to be influenced in prosocial behavior, which can be also related to less connection for those who are less liked. So they tend to like more the ones who they like certain peers and they behave more similarly to them. Of course, we have two different directions, and the upward direction, we highlight the role of highly liked peers, the ones who are very well connected in the classrooms and liked by many. But of course, we also had a downward direction in which adolescents became less prosocial over time to resemble to the peers they like. And we mostly explain this because there are also these popular peers might be also liked. There is an overlap that it has to be disentangled in future research. So we don't know much about this overlap, but we know that popular peers who are also aggressive tend to be rejected and not well liked. So, but it might be for some peers who nominate these peers, they reduce their prosocial behavior instead of going up. So it depends mostly on the characteristic of the alter, but this remains to be studied. This is the article already published in the Journal of Youth and Adolescents last year. And if you want more details, you can scan the QR. And thank you very much. Are there questions? Alejandro.
Well, I like this type of work, so big bias here, but actually I was wondering about CNMA bias, because one of the things that that you have to specify are the priors, and I was wondering whether do you think in the literature of adolescent social behavior, or do we reach the point that we kind of know whether the prior are somehow behaving the same way when you have plenty of different studies at the same time? That was one question.
Yes.
And
Can I answer that first? Because I may forget.
Fine.
Yeah, that's a good point. We actually tested, we searched for other likability networks just to find previous information about this mean and standard deviation. So we added and we tested, good that is Diego here, because he also collaborated in this technical aspect, but we tested basically the same model with prior information and without the priors, and it didn't change. We kept the significance levels of the main estimate for the influence effect. So we also attached this in the paper because I think we also considered that it was important. Despite the lack of research in the topic, we try to address this also based on other likability scores. Yeah.
Okay, now my second question is related with the parameters. So I'm not sure if you show all the parameters.
Oh no, I made us some
selection, right?
Yes,
Right.
just to make it short.
Yeah. So my question is related with this because I do know that as similar to the hierarchical linear models or other models, you need a high sample size in order to incorporate more effects. So the size of the population is related with the number of effects that you can incorporate into the model. And I was wondering, it seems to me, one of the problems with CNL is that you start controlling for everything and then you end up having like 40 effects in this, and I was wondering whether, you know, how big was the sample, how many effects, did you think there was some sensitivity tests to see whether this was an issue or not?
No, we didn't estimate any sensitivity test. We just know that, yeah, the sample was almost 300 students, so 7 classrooms, and we combined them all together. We combined all the classrooms. So we have like, yeah, an amount of 290 something students. And no, but we just know that for Siena, 300 students or a network of 300 students is quite okay to do it. So yeah, and we added all the estimates that were part of the network effects to control also for selection, and adding the influence effects that are mostly required for this analysis, but no sensitivity, any other sensitivity. I don't know if Diego, you can have some.
I think at the end we did like around like 20 something effects in one.
Yeah, but it has been done in several papers that this sample is quite okay for addressing these effects and for influence effects. Yeah.
I have a question about the sampling of the students that were a part of this. Was there like any actions taken into, I don't know, maybe selecting the attributes of the participants? Because something that I'm working on with a research group here is that ethics committees generally insist that you cannot work with populations such as people with disabilities or that have a certain condition because of, I mean, the argument is a protection of their wellness and everything. But in studies like this, I'm wondering like if they are present also in sample, because it's also interesting to see like how they behave in a environment that just considers them one more.
Okay, well, the data was collected by another project, so I was not really involved in the data collection process, just I participated in the last stage in wave 4. But I know that there was already authorization from the schools and also from the university. It came, you know, the projects at the university take a lot of steps before collecting data. So ethical procedures and also all related issues were approved by the university and by the funding. So no, there's not really.
So we do not have information if these people are included in the sample or not.
No, and actually in this classroom, what type of disability, because there are students who go to another specific schools for people with disabilities.
Okay.
So these were like traditional schools and not with special needs.
Yeah, it's just that certain countries do have this perspective of integration, but if you say that in Finland they don't have it.
No, yeah, and this is Chilean data. Yeah, it was collected in Chile.
So they should.
But we didn't have any information regarding, because they are able to study normally, and if there is a student who needs explanations for certain questions, there was part of the staff there to explain, but they were all able to understand questions though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, the parents don't allow, because this is also parental consent.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the parents don't allow so complex procedures. But if they are part of the classroom, they take all the mandatory courses for elementary school, so they are able to perform. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, I think we are perfectly on time. So thank you very much for attending to this session, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the conference and the day.
Thank you.